I'm 44, and if I could time travel back to my 20s, I wouldn't give myself stock tips. I'd give myself this list. Here are the lessons that separate the people who burn out from the ones who truly win. If I could time travel back to when I was 20, sit myself down, and really get honest about what's coming, the very first thing we'd talk about isn't money, and it isn't career success. It's the vehicle I'm driving through life. I'm 44 now, and looking around at my peers, I see something that you can't quite see yet when you're young. There is this massive, undeniable divide forming. On one side, you have the people who treated their bodies like a rental car they didn't care about scratching, and on the other, the people who treated it like the only home they're ever going to have. And trust me, you want to be on the right side of that line. It starts with the most unsexy, underrated tool in your arsenal: sleep. I know when you're 20, sleep feels like a waste of time. You think you can hack it, grind through it, or catch up on the weekend. You treat it as an inconvenience. But here is the raw truth: sleep is the single best legal performance enhancing drug on the planet. You spend one third of your entire existence doing it, so you might as well get good at it. You can go a week without food and even lose a little weight, but go a few days without sleep and you turn into the absolute worst version of yourself. You become reactive, foggy, and weak. If you want to outperform everyone else, forget the complex biohacks and the expensive supplements for a second. Just get 8 solid hours. And it's not just about the rest, it's about the reset. If you combine that sleep with a nice 30-minute walk in nature, you are going to help yourself more than any health guru on the planet ever could. It sounds too simple to be true, but the simple things are usually the ones we ignore. Now, think of your body literally as a piece of hardware. It's the machinery that allows you to experience everything else. You have to upgrade that hardware constantly through lifting, stretching, and cardio. But don't just view exercise as a way to look good in a t shirt. That's vanity, and vanity fades. View exercise as the most underutilized antidepressant available to man. When you move your body, you change your mind. It's immediate biochemistry. If you are feeling stuck, anxious, or low, you can't think your way out of it, but you can usually move your way out of it. And then there is the fuel. This is where so many people lose the plot. We have to stop looking at food just as calories and start looking at it as information. What you eat sends a specific signal to your gut, and your gut is directly hardwired to your brain. If you are eating garbage, you are going to think garbage thoughts. It's that simple. Food is the most abused drug in our society. We use it to numb out, to celebrate, to mourn, and to distract ourselves. But if you want your brain to work better, if you want that mental clarity, you have to improve the quality of the foods you put into your body. Ultimately, the goal here is autonomy. You want to get your body to a level where food and pharmaceutical companies cannot profit off of you. You want to be robust. Because if this hardware breaks down, it doesn't matter how much money you make or how many friends you have, you won't be able to enjoy any of it. So start treating your body like the asset it is. Now, once you've addressed the hardware, your physical body, you have to look at the network you're plugging that hardware into. I'm talking about the people. This is often the hardest pill for my younger self to swallow because we are social creatures and we crave belonging. But here is the reality. As you start to level up, as you start to prioritize that sleep and that focus we just talked about, your circle is going to change. And you have to accept this. It isn't a tragedy, it's just physics. You cannot remain in the same place and expect to keep the same company if that company is anchored to the habits you are trying to break. There is a concept I wish I understood earlier. Your diet isn't just what you put on your fork. Your diet is everything you consume. It's the shows you watch, the news you scroll through, and most importantly, the people you hang around. You have to start auditing your friendships with the same scrutiny you use for your bank account. There's a very simple signal for this, and your body already knows it. Pay attention to how you feel immediately after you part ways with someone. Do you feel energized, inspired, and ready to tackle something? Or do you feel like your battery was just drained to zero? If you hang around someone and you feel like your energy was just zapped out of your body, that is data. That is a massive red flag waving in your face. Those people are energy vampires, and you need to be ruthless about cutting them off. It sounds harsh, but you have a limited amount of time and emotional bandwidth. You cannot afford to leak it on people who are committed to misunderstanding you or dragging you back to a version of yourself you've outgrown. This brings us to the single most important decision you will ever make in your life. It's not your college major and it's not your first job. It is who you choose to partner with. When you are 20, it is so easy to make this choice based on looks alone or simply who is fun at a party. But looks fade and parties end. You need to find someone who fits your personality and your values, not just your aesthetic. This person is going to be your teammate in navigating every crisis, every financial decision, and every parenting struggle. If you choose wrong here, life becomes infinitely harder. If you choose right, everything becomes possible. And while we are talking about relationships, we have to talk about the first ones you ever had, your parents. One of the greatest gifts you can give your own mental peace is to stop judging them for what they didn't do. You have to realize that they did the best they could with what they had been taught. They didn't have the internet, they didn't have these tools, and they likely didn't have the emotional vocabulary you are learning now. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Let it go. Forgive them. Not necessarily because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free of that weight. Finally, because life is fragile, remember that nothing is permanent. At some point, it will be the last time you hang out with your best friend. It will be the last time you see a specific family member. We never know when that clock runs out. So, for the people who do make the cut, the ones who energize you, the ones who support your growth, you need to cherish every single moment with them as if it were the last. Don't take the good ones for granted just because you're busy chasing the future. Real quick, before we talk about money, we just covered fixing your circle and your health. But here is the trap. Information without execution is just noise. You might be listening to this thinking, okay, I get it, but where do I actually start tomorrow morning? I didn't want to just leave you with a list of ideas, so I mapped out the execution. I wrote a guide called 30 Days to a Better You. It is the exact day by day roadmap to install these habits, fix your focus, and actually live what we are talking about. Don't just consume the content, do the work. You can grab the guide right now in the description. Now, let's look at your bank account. Now, let's shift gears to the engine that keeps your life running. We have to talk about money. But I don't want to talk about money in the way you usually hear it on the internet. I'm not talking about buying Lamborghinis, flashing watches, or signaling to the world that you've made it. I'm talking about something far more valuable than status. I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about the ability to sleep at night without a knot in your stomach. When you are in your 20s, it is so easy to view money as just a token to trade for fun. You get paid, you go out, you buy the clothes, you impress the girl, and you repeat. But if I could grab my younger self by the shoulders, I would tell him that one of the quickest ways to create absolute misery and frustration in your life is to be mired in consumer debt. You have to create a non negotiable habit of paying off your credit card at the end of every single month. If you can't buy it in cash, you can't afford it. The moment you start paying interest on a dinner you ate 3 months ago, you are losing the game. You are voluntarily putting shackles on your future self just to satisfy a momentary impulse today. But avoiding debt is just defense. You need to play offense too. And this starts with a habit that seems almost too simple to work. Save at least 10% of what you earn. And listen to me closely here. This applies regardless of how much debt you currently have. I know the math nerds will say, pay the debt first because of the interest rate, but humans aren't calculators. We are emotional creatures. The reason I say you must save that 10% is psychological. The more money you are able to see sitting in your bank account, the more secure you are going to feel overall. When your bank account is hovering near zero, your anxiety levels are high, your decision making becomes desperate, and you tolerate things. Bad bosses, bad situations, because you feel like you have no choice. Having a stack of cash, even a small one, changes your posture. It changes how you walk into a room. It gives you the quiet confidence of someone who has options. Once you have that safety net, you have to take the next step, which is learning how to invest. You have to understand how to turn your dollars into more dollars. Your labor has limits. You can only work so many hours in a day before you burn out. But your money? Your money can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without ever getting tired, without ever complaining, and without ever needing a coffee break. You need to learn this language of investing so that eventually you aren't trading your time for money anymore. Ultimately, the goal here is to get your life to a level where you are sovereign. I mentioned earlier about health. Getting your body to a place where pharmaceutical companies can't profit off you. Well, the same applies here. You want to get your finances to a place where the banks can't own you, where your boss doesn't own you, and where the economy doesn't terrify you. That is the peace of mind account. It's not about greed. It's about building a fortress around your life so that you can live according to your own rules, not someone else's. Okay, we've built the hardware, we've curated the network, and we've secured the funding. Now, we have to talk about the software, your brain. If your body is the machine, your mind is the operating system that runs it. And most people are walking around running Windows 95 in a modern world. They haven't updated their software since they left school. If you want to win, if you want life to actually get better as you get older, you have to take responsibility for your own programming. You upgrade the software by inputting better data. It's that simple. You do it by reading amazing books, taking courses, and learning new skills. But here is the cheat code that I wish I knew at 20: hire mentors. If you want to get from point A to point B, you can try to figure it out yourself through trial and error, which is slow and painful. Or you can pay someone who has already walked that path to show you the map. Pay whatever it takes to get into better rooms. Invest in the mastermind. Go to the conferences. The return on investment for upgrading your own brain is infinite. But having a sharp mind isn't just about what you learn, it's about how you manage your focus. In this era, we are constantly distracted. We are terrified of silence. One of the most potent superpowers you can develop in modern society is simply learning how to be bored. Seriously, make it a habit to spend quality time away from your phone every single day. A great life is lived outside, not scrolling in front of a screen. The ability to sit with your own thoughts without reaching for a device to numb the silence is where real creativity and clarity come from. Now, let's talk about how you actually get things done. There is a golden rule for performance. What you measure is what you manage. If you want to get better at anything, whether it's your fitness, your finances, or your productivity, you must track it. You can't just hope to improve. You need to write a vision for your life, break that down into 3-year goals, then 1-year goals, then quarterly projects, and finally, daily tasks. And then you have to do the hard thing first. We call it eating the frog. Train yourself to knock out the most important, difficult task at the very beginning of the day. If you do that, you win the day before lunch. Finally, you have to debug your emotional reactions. You need to understand that worrying is wasted energy. You will never ever make a problem better by the sheer amount of worry you place upon it. It's like revving your engine while the car is in neutral. You're burning gas, but you aren't going anywhere. And often that worry comes from fear. But here is the shift. If you are feeling uncomfortable, if you are feeling that fear, it usually means you are growing. The things you want are waiting for you on the other side of that fear. A good life was never meant to be a comfortable life. So instead of running from that discomfort, I want you to lean into it. That feeling is the signal that you are upgrading. And finally, we have to talk about the invisible clock that is ticking in your head. You know the one. It's that pressure that tells you that you need to be a millionaire by 25, married by 28, and have the perfect house by 30. If I could give you the biggest gift of relief right now, it would be to take that mental checklist and set it on fire. Any list that says you should be doing X things by 30 years old is nonsense. You have your own timing when it comes to this life, and you must honor it. There is this frantic energy in your 20s where you feel like you are falling behind. But falling behind who? You are running a marathon against yourself. Make sure you get married and have kids on your own timeline, not anyone else's. Live life according to your rules. Not your parents, not the people around you, and certainly not some random dude off the internet. This applies to where you plant your roots too. Life is way too short to not live in the place that suits your personality. Maybe right now you need the city for the network and the chaos, but later you might crave the silence of a small town. That isn't giving up. That is evolving. Listen to that instinct. However, dropping the timeline doesn't mean you get to be lazy. It just means you stop panicking. It means you stop engaging in self pity. Arguing for your excuses is a sign of learned helplessness, and you have to avoid that at all costs because it damages your spirit. If you sit around thinking the world is against you, you will be right. Instead, look at your goals differently. A goal is simply a destination, and the steps to attain it are your GPS. Do not put more focus on the goal than you do on the actual steps. If you stare at the mountaintop the whole time, you're going to trip over the rock right in front of your feet. Fall in love with the walking. And here is the secret that nobody tells you when you are young. When I was in my 20s, I was terrified of getting older. I thought life peaked at 25 and it was all downhill from there. I thought 40 was ancient. I thought it meant less energy, less fun, and less life. I was completely wrong. What I realized is that age is largely a factor of how you perceive it. I am 44 years old right now, and I can look you in the eye and tell you that I feel infinitely better than I did in my 20s. I am stronger, I am wealthier, I am wiser, and I am more peaceful. The anxiety of figuring it out is gone because I realized I can just build it. Each year keeps on getting better and better. So if you are watching this and feeling lost, or feeling like your best days are slipping away, let me point you in the right direction. The game is long. If you take care of your body, protect your peace, and keep upgrading your mind, your prime isn't behind you. It's waiting for you. And listen, don't even take what I just said at face level. Test it out. Be a scientist in your own life. Everyone is different. If these things work for you, awesome. Keep them. If they don't, disregard them and find what does. But just know this, you are building a life, not a resume. Take a breath. You're doing just fine. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.